There's a gift to storytellers. Now let's go and unpack what it really means to be a great storyteller.
What would you think they would say about you, the essence of who you are?
I'm a numbers guy and I love people. Non-stop, relentless. If we say we're gonna do something, we do it.
But now that you're in politics, obviously you create enemies.
We have a lot of them right now, especially the last 2 weeks.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've never gotten this many death threats last week. If you ask me about my views, that does not mean you're gonna have to like what I have to say.
I asked Andrew Tate 3 years ago, were you born that way or you learned to be like that?
Andrew and Tristan are born same father. He says in life, pick your rivals appropriately.
When did you find God?
What are you doing asking me questions like this? The answer you're not gonna like. One day, I realized if I read every single book in the world, it's gonna require me to have faith. That debate for me is a done debate. Then I sit there and ask, which religion has produced the best society to raise a family in? And then I went 17 months without sex. So my number one addiction no longer had control over me. Then I realized I can't be controlled. That's where my power came from.
What does it mean to lead with moral authority?
You're a better fighter than me, but I got 2 snipers over there that if you do one thing, they're gonna take you out. If you don't believe me, test me. They put the fear in you, but it's all fake. That's what some competitors do. That's what some political parties do. That's what the devil does anyways, right?
What do you want to leave this world?
I think the world right now is in need of common sense. You can walk away and fully disagree with my position, but if you're a man who has the ability to reason and set aside your pride and ego, you'll walk away with respect.
The one and only Patrick David.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having this podcast with us.
Sure.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember the story. So I was in Colombia 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was with my girl. I asked her to marry me. She said yes, and we felt like we didn't really love the experience in Colombia, so we extended our stay in Miami. So we took an extra week. And I remember like it was yesterday, I was having a breakfast with my girl and I told her, listen, we could see famous people in Miami South Beach. And at the end of the day, she wanted to go shopping. I hate shopping, but she convinced me to go. It's the best decision of my life because after the shopping, we're walking down the street and I see a big tall guy with 2 boys. And I'm like, babe, that's Patrick David. That's Patrick David.
This is 4 years ago.
4 years ago,
Okay.
in 2021.
Okay.
And I met you. It was a 30-second conversation. I was so mad at myself because I wanted to talk to you a little bit more, but I saw your kids. They were not happy about this conversation. And I'm like, you know what? Let's see what C's doing the same week. And I saw that you were organizing the vault. I'm like, babe, I gotta stay to the vault. I have to go to the vault so I can speak to him a little bit more. So we push our flight, we push our hotel, we stayed there an extra week. I came to the vault, and at the end, there was a basketball match. This is the first.
So this is the one we did at Miami.
Miami,
Yes.
exactly. And I came to see you. I'm like, hey, do you remember me? I'm like, yeah, you're the freaking party destroyer or fun destroyer. Because you had a story with me where one of your boys told you as a fun destroyer. You remember that story?
Of course.
You spoke in front of hundreds of people.
Oh, now I remember exactly where I met you. I met you in front of the ice cream shop in the middle of the street while my oldest son and I got into this conversation. It was on South Beach.
Yeah.
It's where we were getting gelato. Now I know exactly where we were at because I was coming out of a store at Lululemon because Jen was buying clothes for her and my son and I came up with this concept of fun destroyer. That's good for you. Yeah, I remember that.
I initiated the whole conversation with your son. So Patrick, imagine someone who knows you well and had to describe you without mentioning your name. What would you think they would say about you, the essence of who you are and what you stand for? Like me, they will say, without mentioning my name, one of the biggest mortgage broker in Canada, funds manager, private lender, and especially a good-looking, handsome man, right?
Right. Looks mainly, right?
What would they say about you?
I don't know. It depends who you ask. If you ask my, kids, it would be different than if you ask my wife. If you ask people I work with who were with me while we're building a company at the startup phase, relentless, nonstop, constant, never ending. If you ask people that are partners that we do business with, that I don't work for them, they don't work for me, but we have some kind of a partner relationship. If we say we're going to do something, we do it, we come through, we deliver on our promises. That's the reputation that's on the line. If you ask my kids, they're just going to say it's daddy. It's a whole different kind of a relationship we have with them. But probably, an extreme level of curiosity, clarity on what I want to do with my life on the vision side. It'll probably be a lot around vision if you ask people that are working with me.
Of course, I met most of you guys because I went to many of your conferences, and what is really amazing is everyone sees the vision. Like, nobody talks behind your back. Everyone wants to be with you for the next 10 years. They almost say, if Patrick could, he'll be president of the United States. That's how they see you. That's I think that's called leadership. Talking about leadership, being a leader is challenging, but being a leader among other leaders is a whole different game among leaders, right? What do you believe are the biggest benefits of leading other leaders? And can you share a story from your time at PHP that was crucial, dynamic and crucial? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest part is like when you need to have the conversation, you need to have the conversation, period. Like today, I'll give you an idea why. This is a man who's a leader amongst leaders. Will Guidara builds the #1 restaurant in the world, okay? Now, people are like, oh, he just built the #1 restaurant in the world. It's not a big deal. It's just a restaurant. He went from a top 100 to top 50 to 1 Michelin star, 2 Michelin star, 3 Michelin star, and then boom, #1 restaurant in the world, and then he sells it, right? He wrote the book called Unreasonable Hospitality. I brought him last year. He's going to come through this year. And we do some stuff together with him, part of our consulting firm, Bedevi Consulting. You can go to bedevi.com to learn more. But it's interesting what happened today. Watch this. Mario has a call scheduled with Will Guidara. Mario's assistant sends an email saying Mario would like to have a 30-minute call with you, but she puts urgent in the subject matter. They get on the Zoom. After the 30-minute conversation is done with, Will Guidara asks Mario, can I ask you a question? He says, yes. Did somebody die? He says, no. Am I in trouble? No. Did I drop the ball? No. Can I ask why your assistant put urgent in the title of the email? And she's like, I don't know. He says, I don't like that. Because as a professional, when I see urgent, that means I have to put this above everything else I'm doing. And now that I'm on the call with you, this wasn't more urgent than other things I was doing. Please make sure your assistant doesn't do this again. Can you please do that respectfully? Yes. Now watch this. The average person's going to do what? What's the big deal? Let it go. It's a very big deal. Because now we have to manage our relationship moving forward. If I don't do that, you won't value my time. You come to me and you said, Pat, can we do a 1-hour interview? I want to have you on my podcast. I go on your channel, you have 3, 4, 5, 6,000 subscribers. I don't know where you are today.
3,000.
How much?
3,300.
3,300 subscribers. I would not do a 3,300 subscriber podcast, not because I'm too big for this and I'm too important and I think too highly of myself. I value my time, and my business partners and the people that I'm business with, they want me to maximize my time with people that's going to get the highest rate of return for the business. If I'm too sloppy with my time, I'm hurting everybody I'm in business with. Why am I doing that? So you come to me, now you're in our network, and you say, Pat, I want to be able to do this. I'm willing to pay for it. I'm like, honestly, I don't need the money. You said, Pat, I'll pay you the $40,000. I said, I don't want your money. I don't want to do it for 1 hour. I'm telling you, no, I don't want to do it right now. But what do I need to do? I said, I'm telling you, that's not what I need. I don't need, none of the money goes in my pocket. Whatever you paid doesn't go in my pocket anyways. It's not going to me. It's going straight to consulting, and I don't take a single penny off the table with our holding company, right? Now watch this. So I told you a story, okay? If you remember the story I told you a story in 2015. I'm running a YouTube channel with 5,000 subscribers. And I asked Mark Cuban, hey, Mark, I'd like to sell some 3,000, 5,000 copies of your book. It was a competition book. It's a very good book. But it's an ebook only. He says, you think I need 65 cents times 5,000 copies? I'm like, yeah, no, you don't. He says, well, I said, so what can I help you with? He says, I just launched a new app called Cyberdust at the time. It ended up being called The Dust. And I actually really like that because you send a message and it disappears. So for the financial industry, it was actually a very good concept. Snapchat does it now, but at that time, it was a very good messaging service for us to use. So I said, what do you need? He says, if you can get me 500 downloads or whatever the number he said, he says, I'll make the time to do an interview with you. No problem. I go back, I take 2 months, I set up an event at Glendale Community College. Boom, we're ready. we get him a couple thousand downloads of the app. And I tell him this weekend is when I'm doing it at this time. Watch app downloads. Boom. He says, no, you got the app downloads. Schedule the time, flew out to American Airlines Center. I do the interview with him, right? So I told you, listen, if you're going to do this, we have a Minette contest coming up. Here's what's going to take. The way you can compete is by asking people the most questions. What do? You get to work and you ask certain people the questions. Some of the people you keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth to want to compete, but you did your part to compete. Everything was the right way you did, right? So what happens? Now we're here together. Why do I do it with you? You have to know that I value my time. If I don't manage that with you, you're going to walk out of this place saying, who is this guy? He doesn't value his time. The same goes with kids. I'm competing with my kids yesterday. We're playing soccer. I love my kids, and I push my kids very hard. And I'm talking very hard. I push them very hard when we're competing. And I'm challenging them because, these kids have a very good life. I don't need to be challenged because I lived in Iran while we're getting bombed. I mean, that kid needs the opposite, right? My kids live in a $45 million home. They go to a beautiful school. They're around a lot of great people. They have a lot of different resources. They don't have the concept of life being hard. So I have to provide that hard for them so they understand, man, living with this guy was a combination of a lot of love, but also a lot of this. So they'll cross the line in a place and I'm like, hey, can I talk to you? Yeah, you can't do that again. What do you mean? You can't do that again. That word, I'm not good with that. Are we clear? Yes. Are you sure you understand what I'm saying to you? Are we clear? Yes. No problem. Let's go play some soccer. So yesterday, they're all debating on who I have to spend time with because it's Sunday and they want to spend time with daddy, right? And it's always a fight because no one's ever going to be happy. So here's what we did yesterday. I got to get my work out of the way. I got to go to church. I got to go to my restaurant. I got to have my breakfast that I make on the weekends. I love making that breakfast for me because I don't eat breakfast Monday through Friday. I only eat breakfast on the weekends, and I love breakfast. So we come home. What are we going to do? Well, mom wants to go bike in the community. We do. I put Brooklyn in the back. I pull her. We go all the way down, all four of us. Dylan didn't want to participate at first. He finally did. After we biked, we came back. Then we went on the jet ski because Senna wanted to go on the jet ski. So we go on the jet ski all the way down and we come back. Guess what? On the way back, my jet ski's engine burns. So we got two jet skis. My 12-year-old and 10-year-old are on one jet ski. Theirs works. Mine doesn't work. I put my daughter on their jet ski. She's crying, freaking out. She goes over there. I get back on this jet ski and I turn it off. Alarm's going off. I turn it back on. I can go 4 miles an hour in the middle of the water. They're right next to me. So we're going together and laughing about it, right? Then we get home. We go play soccer. We play soccer with me and my sons. And boom, it's so competitive. It's insane. It's so competitive. Like, I have the video. Super competitive on how it is. It's me against them two, and I have my two girls. My 3-year-old daughter and 8-year-old daughter, they don't play soccer. They play soccer. Then we go in the pool, and we're playing a game. Sunday for me, it's from the morning till 10 at night. I'm working for my kids and enjoying the hell out of it. But even with my kids, they have to know, this is the line you don't cross. Because that's the respect part, right? If you don't manage that with people that you're dealing with, then people are going to realize you're a pushover. And you can't do that. But by the way, if there's not backbone behind it with results and moral authority, you're just arrogant. But if you have results, moral authority, and you get, you come through on what you say you're going to do for other people, then they're like, no, this guy's word's got a lot of weight behind it.
I'm going to talk about moral authority a little bit later.
Sure.
But you don't have to challenge me, right? Because there's a chance that I do win the challenge, right? Why did you do it?
Because I respect that when you do. There's a 1% chance you'll respond to the challenge. Trust me. When I walked away, I didn't think you were going to do it. But that also allows me to know what you're all about. Okay?
Got you.
You know how many people I do that to? How many people do you think I say that to?
Hundreds of people, that's for sure.
Say thousands of people, right? What percentage do you think actually does it? Less than 1%. That is one way to filter out people that don't keep their words. I'll give you an idea. I had a meeting this week with our HR department last week on Friday. You know what the meeting was about? So I said, tell me what we do when people come in. Out of 20 interviews, how many do we hire? Because right now we're getting around 1,500 to 3,000 resumes on a weekly basis. A bad week is 500, but we're getting 1,500 to 3,000 resumes per week. People that want to work for Vitamin.
That's crazy.
And we're a small company. We went from 3 years ago, 8 employees. Last year we were at 45, 50 employees. We're at 115 employees today. So every year it just keeps doubling with employees, right? So I sit down, I said, out of 20 people we interview for Bet David Consulting, how many get a job? They said 1. I said, why is it so high? And they're like, that's high? Yeah. I said, so let me ask you, what do you tell them in the interview process? Well, here's how we sell them. So you're selling more than you are asking them why they should come to the company. Yes. I said, okay. So what assignments you give them for them to start working for the company? Well, we asked them to watch this on-the-job video. There's this acronym they're using. How long is the video? 2.5 minutes. So they're just supposed to watch a video? That's it? Yeah. What other things do they have to do? Well, nothing else. I said, okay. How about here's what we have to do moving forward. There's 5 layers of interview they go through, okay? I said, first interview, before they even go to the second one, ask them to read your next 5 moves so they know exactly what I stand for, and send a paper, 2-page paper on it, and let them know, don't try to take a shortcut because we know all the softwares on how to do it on ChatGPT. We want you to know about the book, because if we ask you about stories in a book and you don't know it, that means you don't read it. So make sure you read the book. Boom. When we're saying that to an interviewee, that already in their mind, they're saying what? Here's what they're saying in their mind, okay? The right person's saying what? You don't think I'm going to read it and give you this? I'm going to read everything about the book. Watch me. That's a good quality. The other person says, yeah, I still know how to be ChatGPT, and I'm still going to write something. I'm going to get all the stories shortcut. I'm still going to do it. You don't know what I'm going to be doing. The guy that we don't want is going to say what? I don't freaking read books. What are you, my teacher? They're not saying this to us, but they're saying it to themselves. Guess what? The person that's not going to be reading, what's the likelihood they're going to read the book and send us an email? 0. They're out. So that 20-1 officially became what? 40-1, which is what we want, right? So then I said, okay, that's the book they have to read and write a paper on. Number 2, they have to watch a 22-minute video that's on betdavid.com that breaks down our 5x5. We believe every startup entrepreneur founder goes through 5 challenges at 5 different phases. That video is on betdavid.com that somebody can watch. We want you to watch that video and send us a paper on what you got from that and be ready for a second interview. So now, if 20 people only had to watch a 2-minute video for the next interview, how many now are going to read the book, write a paper, watch a 2-minute video, and watch a 22-minute video to explain what they got? What do you think the number is now? 40-1. Okay, great. So then they go to the next phase of interview. Then the third phase of interview, they're going to sit down one of our managers from our consulting firm. Guess what then they have to do? They have to write a 2-page business plan. So now imagine, they read a book, they went through the 22-minute video, they watched a 2.5-minute video. Now you want me to write a business plan on how I'm going to build my consulting firm? Yes. My book of business? Yes. If they make it past this, we don't care what they did. We want this person. Did you understand what you said? So that filtered the BS through. So now we went from 20-1, which we hired these guys. Say we hired 10 of these guys per month. I'm paying $7,000 a month. They stay for 3 months to see what it's really all about. Say only half of them make it. $7,000 a month times 3 is $21,000 a month, not including health insurance and everything I'm paying on the back end. Say it's $30,000 I'm paying them over a 3-month period. Times 10 employees, say over a 3-month period. That just cost me how much? $300,000. Whatever the number is, right? Yeah, $300,000. What am I doing that for? I just wasted money. I'm not doing that. I could save that $300,000 by finding out the other half don't get things done. So when you and I started speaking and I said to you, yeah, go be first place. I said, he's not going to do it. And the 1% that he does it, guess what? Salute to you. I'm here, sitting down, we're talking.
Appreciate it.
I respect that. That's the difference, why you're winning.
Yeah.
When we were at SLS at Mar-a-Lago, if you remember, 320 people were in that room. I asked them, stand up if you're in the mortgage industry. How many people stood up? You remember this. How many?
I was surprised. I was the only one.
You were the only one.
Yeah.
By the way, you remember when you went to that event at Miami at the one hotel where we played basketball?
Yeah.
Do you know 30% of the people in that room were mortgage and real estate industry?
That's crazy.
Only one person was in the mortgage industry in April of 2024. Why? Most guys got filtered out. Mortgage industry's tough. So guess what now? Those guys got rid of their Ferraris, their Lambos, their Rolls Royce, all this other stuff. It's a hard business. So these are small little things where people realize what the individual's all about.
Something you forgot to mention is you declined an offer of $500,000 because I was about to ask you to come to Montreal because you declined. You told me that you're not doing it anymore. That's why you said
so
fat.
funny you said that, yeah. That's what most people don't realize. What you just said, they think it's a gimmick.
Yeah.
You offered $500. I said, even if you pay me $500,000 to come to Montreal.
For an hour.
I'm telling you, I'm not coming, right? Yeah. So think about that. Why would I say such a thing? Who in the right mind would say, I'm not going to take $500,000 for an hour? You know why? Because me being here every day, I'm increasing the valuation of my business if all of a sudden in the next 5 years the business is worth $10 billion, our holding company, go 10 years if the holding company is worth $10 billion, what is my day worth of being in the office to increase valuation? Think about that.
Can't even imagine.
But that's how you ought to look at your business. When you're able to value it in that way, then you're a little bit more detailed and intentional of what you say yes and no to.
Like 10 years ago, would you imagine someone paying you $500,000 to speak?
Okay, I'll give you two answers. There's a book everybody's got to read. It's called 38 Letters Rockefeller Wrote His Son. Which camera is my camera? Can you tell me which camera is my camera? Which one? Is it this one? Okay. Trust me, go buy the book. Thank me later, okay? If you're a son or a father, order the book, read it. Good luck putting the book down, okay? This is stuff that he wrote, letters he wrote to his son in 1899, 1906. And here's how the letter starts. Dear John, I have some terrible news to report to you. Mr. Benson just died. Mr. Benson was the greatest rival I ever had. He was the one that got me out of bed to compete because I've had many different competitors, but this was one of my favorite rivals. He says, in life, pick your rivals appropriately. What? Competition? Yes. In the book, Rockefeller talks about how when he was a younger kid, he said there's two things he wanted to do in life. Be the richest man in the world and live up to 100. How old was Rockefeller when he died? I'm going to give you a number. You're going to flip out. How old was John D. Rockefeller when he died? You ready? 97 years old.
Almost.
And by the way, 97 years old, living in 1800s, which doctors were terrible compared to today. How do you live 97 years old and you die in 1937? How good was hospitals back then? We didn't have any technology in there. I think about it. That's kind of like in today's times, you live to 140 years old. That's what this guy did, right? So he says, since I was a kid, I wanted to be the richest man in the world, live up to 100. He became the richest man, never lived to 100. But 2.5 years before turning 100, he dies, right? In 1937. What's the point? 10 years ago, if you ask me, like even right now, you know the feeling that somebody doesn't take you seriously or underestimates you?
Always.
Okay, you know that feeling, right? You know when that feeling stops? When does that feeling stop?
When you prove them wrong?
But in life, when does that feeling stop?
I think never.
That's the point. Who do you think underestimates me today?
Presidents.
A lot of people. A lot of people. 10 years ago, they were like, give me a break. This guy runs a small little insurance company, 2014. This guy runs a small little insurance company with 2,000 agents. And he's saying he's going to build one of the biggest insurance agencies in America. Give us a break. Stop. I'd get on stage and they would roll their eyes. And it's like, you're out of your mind. I said, we're going to build a tech-enabled insurance company. Our software is going to do this. Our leaders bulletin is going to update every 30 times. And I'm saying all this stuff. And I'm saying every time when they would say, I would tell Mario in 2014, I said, Mario, I don't know why I'm saying this to you, but we're going to build one of the biggest media companies in the world. And Mario would look at me like, this guy's either on drugs or he's going to do its work, right? And I don't use drugs. I would sell the vision to everybody, over to my wife, to the people I work with. Deep down inside of me, there's a side that is 100% certain this vision is going to become a reality. And there's another side that is, oh my God, you sure you said this? Why are you saying this? What if this? When I was younger, this guy would win more often. Don't say it, it's too much pressure. What if you don't? The more effort I put into the business and I worked on this and I got clear on who I am, the more this guy started winning. And this guy's now on a winning streak. So this battle you're going to face. So if you would have told me $500,000, like I'll be turning it down, I don't know if I thought about it that way, but I knew I was going to create so much value in the marketplace that the demand was going to be there. It wasn't one day someone's going to pay me $500,000, I want to turn it down. No, I just knew there was going to be the demand. You're
an incredible communicator and a storyteller. I asked Andrew Tate through your app, Connect, 3 years ago, when you mentioned Andrew, I think it was at the Vault event or SLS, I don't remember correctly, but I spoke with him because I'm amazed about how he speaks, right? And I asked him, hey, were you born that way or you learned to be? He gave me some tips. He asked me, how many languages do you speak? Is English your first language? I said, no, it's my third language. He said, listen, I'm always going to be a little bit better because I speak English from the day I was born. But here are some tips. So one of the tips he gave me, I can share with you guys, is learn 20 to 30 complex words and use them when you speak. And when you use those words, people is going to be like, what the heck is this word? Right? And it was an amazing tips, right? I'm asking the same questions to you. Were you born that way or you learned to be like that?
Okay, so there are certain skill sets you have that naturally you're very good at, okay? Andrew and Tristan are born same father. Are they both good storytellers?
Andrew is better.
Good, but Andrew's better, right?
Yeah.
Watch what you just said right there. So both are good, but Andrew's better. You said that, right? Okay. I've been around both of them. Tristan is super smooth with the ladies. Doesn't mean Andrew's not, but Tristan's style is a very different style. Tristan's style is James Bond style. Tristan's style is more, Anthony, the McQueen, or he's the Paul Newman guy. He's that guy. Very different. Andrew doesn't have that. Andrew is the guy's like, the attractiveness because of the energy and the fire and the self-confidence, right? But it's a different way. But Tristan speaks like this. Two different. There's a gift to storytellers that you have. Now, let's go and unpack what it really means to be a great storyteller. The key in storytelling is starting me here, telling me about this, then forgetting about this, going all the way around here, and while you're about to finish the story, and you come back over here. Wow, how do you connect these two, right? I totally forgot about this thing you were talking about, but we're coming back here, right? You're like, what's he saying with the story about all this stuff that he just said about? I don't know where he's going. Oh, he was trying to make the point why he said to me with the HR and tell him this and push him away and I let him come back. No, just the way I push you back in MO. Guess what? This is why I'm sitting down with you now, right? All of these things. Storytelling is in that. It's in the details. It's in the suspense. It's in the painting a picture. I can close my eyes and actually go there exactly while you're telling the story and I'm with you. I can feel it. I can smell the place. I can hear the music. I'm there. If you can tell a story in a way where a person can close their eyes and they physically feel exactly what you're describing, you're a good storyteller. And so some of that you can learn and some of that you can be born with, but a lot of it you can learn.
Did you learn or you were born with?
Since I was a kid, I've been telling stories. Since I was a kid. When I was in junior high school, Adrian and a couple of my friends, I would walk from Wilson Junior High School, and they would walk the long way because I would tell them a story, a fantasy story, and they would walk with me because this fantasy story, I would tell them, craziest story that boys think about at that 13 years old. One day you come after school and your history teacher's waiting for you. All these crazy stuff that boys have dreams. Like I'm talking stories like that.
Yeah.
So imagine one day you're performing and people are watching you and you're this. And they just kind of wanted to hear the stories. But that part of it was there. It just got better over the years.
You talked about moral authority, right? You talk about a lot often. What does it mean to lead with moral authority, like especially in business, right? Because as an entrepreneur, if you say something, you gotta act. You gotta take actions. Like if you say that you're a hard worker and you're the first to leave from the office, then you're not, right? Following your values and principles. What do you mean by moral authority, and how important it is for young entrepreneur like us?
Yeah, you can't act moral authority. You're either doing it or you're not doing it, right? There's certain things in life that you can't sell. You can sell a lot of things, but you can't sell everything, okay? So you can sell somebody who doesn't know who you are. You can sit here and say, so let me tell you what's going to happen right now. You're a better fighter than me, but I got two snipers over there with a red right now dot on the back of your head that if you do one thing, they're going to take you out. Every one of these guys is going to be taken out because I got 4 guys on the other side. If you don't believe me, test me. Go ahead, okay? You in that moment can sit there and believe what this guy's saying to you. In the back of your mind, you're saying what? Either this guy's full of shit or he's real. Do I want to take that risk? And two of your guys have, let's just say, guns pointed at me, and I'm sitting here very calm. You're going to say, why is he so calm? Would I be that calm if two people are pointing a gun at me? There's no way I'd be calm. So then guess what you say? He must be right. He probably does have 3 snipers on the other side and 3 snipers on this other side pointing at me. Okay, guys, hey, put your guns down. We'll be out of here. But Pat, this has to be the last time. No problem. There's a door. And then you guys leave. And I live, right? How many times can you get away with that? How many times?
Not often.
Maybe one time. Maybe one time with you. Second time with you, no. One time with another person, maybe. But eventually somebody's going to say, what? You're full of shit. I don't believe you. Take him out. Boom. It's over. There's nobody out there. Right? That's what the devil does anyways, right? Convince you he's more powerful than he really is. It's purely an imagination. That's what some political parties do. That's what some communities do. That's what some competitors do. They put the fear in you, but it's all fake. It's not real. That's what these guys do a lot of times. This virus, it's going to do this. And you're like, oh my God, we're going to die and it's zombies showing up. So you get scared and timid. That works. But if they do it to you the second time around and you fall for it, you're the fool. So now let me flip it. What's moral authority? You don't need to do that. Everybody knows. It's a reputation that you built. It's the character. It's the best of both worlds, which is the reputation and the character where they know this guy's got a rep. Everybody knows who he is. But man, let me tell you something. When I do business with this guy, when he says he's going to do something, he does it. This is why I want to keep doing business with this person. Or this is why I don't want to F with this person, because I know he's going to do what he says he's going to do to me. It's a beautiful thing when you have moral authority as a parent, as a husband, as a CEO, as a competitor. Super necessary the bigger you want to build.
Are you able to see it through? Because, or do you need to like try once to see if this person has moral authority?
We play poker. How many hands can I fool you in?
I don't play poker, so you lost me there.
Okay, but if you, the whole idea of poker is what? You know what bluffing is?
Yeah.
Right? Bluff is what? When you don't have a hand, but you're faking somebody, okay? The way you can bluff me is on one hand, because I haven't seen a pattern yet. But after playing with you for 3 hours at a casino, and I see you in 70 different situations, you can't bluff me anymore. I know who you are. I know when you tilt. I know when you get nervous. I know when you have aces. I know when you have ace king. I know when you have pocket kings. I know when you called in all in, when you had a 3-8, and I don't know why you called all in, because you were trying to go on a straight with the 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm like, why is he going that? Because if another person has, I don't understand. So he doesn't really know how he plays. Okay, so you can bluff me if you're not good only on one hand, not 3 hours. Now, let's flip it. You can beat a great player on one hand. Because the great player doesn't know who you are, so you totally threw them off. You can't beat a great player over 3 hours. Because within 3 hours, a great player is going to be like, yeah, you're so full of shit. You don't know what you're doing. So that's the part when you're going up against competitors. The big, the small, when you're the big, when you're the small, all of that stuff, you have to understand the timing, the positioning, and the leverage that you have.
Talking about lazy, ambitious people.
Yeah.
That podcast you did, it resonated a lot to me, right? Because there's a lot of people who have ambitions, but not many have this drive, right? Can you tell me an example of lazy, ambitious people? Because I hired a guy who was like 22, 23 years old. He has this stamina, this energy, but he was doing stuff that threw me away. So what I did is I had to let him go. Can you tell me a story about like what do you mean by lazy, ambitious people? Why it's important to stay away from them?
Because so there's two types of competitors out there, right? The types that they wake up every morning doing the work to dominate the marketplace, okay? They're gonna work. And then there are those who wake up every morning to try to get in your way of making sure you don't dominate. The second type are the lazy, ambitious people, because they don't want to work as hard as you. They don't want to continue. Take the marketplace right now, okay? Who is the most dominant face of media today? Number one, who is it? It's Elon Musk, and it's not even close. The guy did Twitter, X Spaces with Trump, he got 1 billion views. Okay?
Yeah.
Insane. He's got a couple 100 million followers just on X. He's worth $240 billion, $250 billion. Who do you think hates Elon Musk? How many people do you think that used to be ahead of Elon Musk 15 years ago? Like Elon was worth, let's just say $3 billion, and they were worth $28 billion. I'm like, well, Elon, let me tell you, there's a big difference between $3 billion and $28 billion. Elon is a new billionaire. He doesn't know da-da-da-da-da. That $28 billion guy is now worth $100 billion. But that $3 billion guy is now worth $250 billion. Who do you think he embarrasses? The guys that got comfortable at one point. At every level, this happens. Lazy ambitious is not just a dollar amount. Billionaires have lazy ambitious people that are done. They just want to cruise and they just want to chill out. There's nothing wrong with you being a billionaire or being worth 100 million or 10 million, and you 100% are content and happy with your life, and you don't care if a younger cousin, if a younger classmate who was a nobody who used to work for you goes and become a billionaire, it does nothing for you. But if there's this much pain that guy leaves you and beats you, and behind closed doors you say bad things about him, you're part of lazy, ambitious people. Because somebody who's a worker and ambitious, you know what they're going to say? Formidable opponent. Got to respect him. Good for him. Very smart. Is driving. Got to respect his effort. He's nonstop. He's one of these guys that's in the game constantly. The lazy, ambitious people can't do that. The lazy, ambitious person has to undermine their success. They got lucky. They got money from their parents. He got the money from the U.S. government. He says he never got money from his family. He did. He says he didn't do this. Look at this guy. He went to school. His parents gave him money to go to college. They're always talking about that because that's what lazy, ambitious people do. They're always bitching and complaining. That other guy has this. This other guy has this. He got this much money. He got that much money. No problem. So you have to play those guys. I had a lot of lazy, ambitious people in the insurance company, in my company, my competitors. I have one of them in the company that every day he just salivates on how he can do something to hurt me. And every possible, what he doesn't realize is everybody he goes and talks to behind closed doors to throw me under the bus, all of them have a great relationship with me, and they all call me. Like, hey, by the way, he's doing it again. Like, first of all, he's never going to stop doing it. He's going to do that for the rest of his life because he's part of the lazy, ambitious people. He's so annoyed with himself and so bitter that he didn't give his best. For the rest of his life, he has to live with himself. And he knows that I know and others know, but he's trying to convince new people that don't know that he's not really lazy, ambitious. The profile of a lazy, ambitious person is very easy to find.
How long did it took you to leave him, like throw him at the door?
Oh, I don't throw him at the door. You don't ever build a big company with people having different positions that are all going to be all in all the time. They can still serve a purpose for the company, but not the big decision makers at the top. That's the difference. When it comes down to having influence at the top where the big decisions are being made in a company, never allow a lazy, ambitious person to make that decision.
Got you. Let's say you were 22, Patrick,
Yep.
and you have to decide any market, any industries, right? A blue ocean. What would that be?
Today?
Today in today's market. As a mortgage broker, right? I'm a mortgage broker. I have around 15 people. I want to build the biggest mortgage cabinet in Canada, and sometime maybe come to the States. Obviously, you always talk about the insurance business, how is so recession-proof, not the mortgage side, right? But I do have a plan, a genius plan, right? But if you were 22, what would you do? What industry would you go?
So you're not asking me in the mortgage space. You're saying any industry if I'm 22 today?
Any industry.
Okay. So first of all, it's a complex question, but let me try to answer it for you, okay? So if I'm 22, knowing my strengths, knowing how I'm wired is going to be different than my oldest son or my youngest son or my oldest daughter or my youngest daughter, because that question varies based on who the individual is, okay? So for example, Starbucks right now, they had a former CEO, guy named Laxman, that was a CEO for 17 months that they just fired. When they hired him and he became the CEO, for a year he shadowed Howard Schultz. Then he became the acting CEO April of 2023, 17 months ago. At the time, Starbucks was worth $114 billion. 17 months later, you know what Starbucks was worth? $74 billion. He lost Starbucks $40 billion in 17 months. The guy they hired was the former CEO of Chipotle. Chipotle hired this guy, Bryant, when they took him away from Taco Bell, okay? Chipotle hires him when Chipotle is only worth $7 billion. 6 years later, Chipotle is worth $70 billion. Starbucks just hired him. They gave him a $113 million contract to go be the CEO of Starbucks. Guess what? Brian Niccol, the CEO now of Starbucks, day one when they announced he's the CEO, you know how much Starbucks' stock went up in day one? $20 billion. They gave him a $113 million package. Day one, the market's like, great decision, Starbucks stock goes up. $20 billion in a day. So people are like, I can't believe you paid him $113 million. $113 million compared to we just made $19.9 billion in a day. Good hire. Shareholders are happy, right? Where am I going with this, Pat? I just asked you a question about if you're going to be involved in business today, what industry would you be a part of? The guy they hired, Laxman, 22 years or so, he was a consultant at McKinsey. You know why a big part of the consulting industry is getting destroyed? Because they're hiring MBAs and people that have these MBAs who have never consulted, never ran a company before, never operated a company before. And then all of a sudden they're saying, why don't you come and run Starbucks since you are such a big time consultant at McKinsey, come help run the company. And then they realize consultants don't know how to run a company. Consultants are good at telling you what to do, but they don't run a company. In an interview, he's been asked a question on Forbes. You should see this interview. If you guys find it, plug it into the video if you find it. It's not hard to find. Laxman, Forbes, Starbucks. He says, when somebody calls me after 6 o'clock, why are you asking me a question after 6 o'clock? Can I ask you why you asking me a question after 6 o'clock? What? You are the CEO of a $114 billion company. That's the example you're setting to people that are asking you questions after 6 o'clock. So if you say that, if I'm your CFO, if I'm your CMO, if I'm your CTO, if I'm your COO, guess whose lead I'm following? Yours. So when my guys in my department want to ask me a question after 6 o'clock, guess what I say? Well, the CEO Laxman doesn't answer questions after 6 o'clock. Why should I? I don't have to answer the questions. See, everybody varies. That guy was probably a good consultant at McKinsey. He should have stayed there, but he's not a CEO. When you're a good number one, there's a very different wiring in being a number one versus number two, number three, number four, number five, number six. You have to look at that part on who ends up becoming a number one. It's typically people that are very good number twos that eventually become number ones. Most number twos, bad number twos, don't make number ones. Now, go to another part. Strength-wise, for me, I'm a numbers guy and I love people. That's my two strengths. I love numbers and I love people. I'm very analytical. Very. You ask my wife, my wiring on the STAR personality structure, very systematized. S, technical, analytical. A, action-oriented. R, relationship. My wife would tell you my number one is T, technical, analytical. I'm a very analytical guy. Then it's action. Then it's relationship. Then it's STAR, even though everything in my life is very organized because I hire organized people. So that profile varies based on who the individual is. But if you're asking me specifically today, I'm probably going to go into the financial industry 10 out of 10 times. I love the financial industry. Maybe I go private equity, maybe I go investment banker, maybe I go, but I would use my analytical debate side. Maybe, I would go build a big hedge fund and do what, Jim Simons did and Medallion Fund or Renaissance Technology, something like that. Because I would use that with the investment side because I just love the financial industry. I get to talk numbers all day and I get to talk to people all day. Heaven on earth for me.
How do you feel about mortgages?
How do I feel about mortgages? You sure you want me to tell you?
Yeah, sure, go on.
Okay. So, mortgage industry. This is why I'm not a fan of the industry. Because number one, I'm solving for building a business with high valuation. That's what I'm solving for. I'm solving for business with high valuation. Nobody in the right mind should buy a mortgage company that, let's just say you do $100 million a year, $20 million in profits. I wouldn't pay you more than 5x your $20 million unless if you're technology, tech-enabled, and you had a software that everybody in the marketplace needs, and it's a membership-based and something that's a recurring. But if it's a traditional mortgage company that's doing $100 million a year on 20% EBITDA, you're not going to get more than 5 to 7 times EBITDA if you don't have technology. So $20 million in EBITDA, go $20 million in EBITDA in subscription-based. You could get 20, 25 times. Go $20 million EBITDA in PNC, auto insurance, 20, 25 times. Go $20 million of EBITDA and shift it in 50 different industries. The valuation at the top of 20 million in different industries is going to vary. Go $20 million of money under management. Go $20 million on, PE. Go $20 million. You can put an analysis and say which one's going to be because the work to get to $20 million of EBITDA is the same work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. So you want me to work hard to get to $20 million EBITDA for only 5 times? Yeah, that's the issue. So now if one can find a way to disrupt it with other types of things that's coming to it, different story. Now, if somebody wants to get into mortgage industry because they want to make $1 million a year, $2 million a year, $3 million a year, $5 million a year, yeah, you can do that. No problem. It's a lot of work, but I'm always processing valuation being built.
I hear
That's
you.
just how my brain is wired.
I hear you. And if you're able to solve those problems, then you may have
Sure.
a bigger
Yeah.
idea.
If you got a technology and AI and something that's reoccurring where the market can sit there and say, great. And my step number one, if I'm still going to go try to solve it, I'm going to go to investment bankers in New York and tell them what I have. And I would say, how many times EBITDA would I get for something like this? And let them tell you.
Let's talk about a bit of politics. I'm a Canadian, right?
Go for it.
Born in Sri Lanka, came at 8 years old to Canada. We escaped civil war. We have a similar story. That's why I really like you, Pat. And these days, Canada, they're doing stuff that I don't really, I don't feel comfortable, and especially the capital gain, right? We raised to 66%. As a Sri Lankan, as an immigrant coming to Canada, I feel proud. I feel lucky.
What are you doing asking me questions like this? What are you doing asking me questions like this? The answer you're not going to like, buddy. But go ahead. Keep going.
I will. So I feel lucky. I feel lucky to be here.
You feel lucky to be in Canada?
In Canada, but because
66% capital gains, you feel lucky?
Obviously not today.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a setbacks for entrepreneurs. Right?
That's not entrepreneurs though. What can you do about the 66%? Go ahead.
I need to move.
Of course you need to move.
I need to move.
What are you doing staying in Canada? Tell me why you're still in Canada. Do you have kids or not yet?
Not yet.
Are you guys married or not yet?
Not yet.
When are you getting married?
Soon, very soon.
Like in the next 12 months?
Next 12 months, yeah.
Is this the girl?
It's the girl, yeah.
You're 100%.
100%.
Are you 100%? Yes? Okay, that's good. So both of you guys are 100%. How many kids do you want to have?
4.
How many of them you want to be gay?
Well, none.
Why not?
It's a cultural thing.
Really? So that would bother you?
If I will love my children. If they're gay, fine, right? I will love my children, but I'd rather not.
Do you think I would? Do you think if one of my kids is gay, do you think I love them?
I think you will.
1,000,000%. Now let me ask you this. What age in your life were you the most confused?
14, 15.
Me too. If that's the age we're most confused, you want me to live in a society that's going to feed it to me? I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. If I put you in a climate where we're teaching you the right values and principles based on common sense, and at 23 years old, you tell me you still want to do it, I love you, I will hug you, I'll kiss you. It'll break my heart that I'm not going to have grandkids, but I'm still going to be there for you because you're my child. My problem is confusion. And you're living in a country that doesn't share common values as you. Are you going to be working the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years?
100%.
Are you planning on driving and building value no matter where you go?
200%.
Do you think any community you go to, you're a net positive to that society? Let me ask the question one more time. Do you think any community you go to, your values and principles is a net positive to that society?
Don't think so.
I think you are. See, what I think is, are you planning on teaching your kids to be independent, self-sufficient, make money, and pay their taxes? Are you planning on teaching your kids to be criminals? No. Are you planning on teaching your kids to treat women properly? Are you planning on teaching your daughters to be great wives to their husbands? Are you planning on teaching your boys, your daughters to be readers, to be leaders in society, to contribute back to society? Yes? Are you going to teach them to be presentable like their father? Yes? Are you planning on, no matter where you go, to follow the law, pay your taxes, create jobs, help other people make more money? Are you planning on doing that? There's 5 jobs right here that flew in from Canada, right? You're a net positive to any society you go to. But Canada doesn't appreciate you. Canada only appreciates you if you do what Justin wants you to do, if you do what they think is right. Now, one may say, well, Pat, the tides are going to turn. Really? 66% capital gains? I moved away from California. When I lived in California, if I would have sold a business for, say, $300 million, capital gains, add Obamacare, add California taxes, add all this stuff, I would have paid an additional 13%, 15% of taxes on a $300 million sale, which is what? $45 million. Do you think I can do more with that $45 million or Governor Newsom? What do you think?
I don't think so.
I can do better with that than the governor. You believe that?
Yeah.
Okay. So then Trump becomes the president. They lower capital gains from some 40% to 23%, 20%. So that additional 20% you pay for $300 million is an additional what? $60 million. What's 60 million plus $40 million? That's $100 million. You want me to leave that $100 million for the state, where they keep saying they're going to do all these other things they can't? No, I'm not. I don't trust that. So for me, as somebody who you come across as a family man, you come across as somebody that wants to be a good father, a good husband, a good leader to any society, right? Where do you feel welcomed? You have to go there. Is your mom and dad also over there? Do they also live in
Canada?
That's the tough part. Do you have siblings that are also in Canada?
Yeah.
That's the tough part. But yeah, if you were my son or my brother or any of that, I want you to be as close to me as possible. So of course I don't want you to leave Canada. But there's no way in the world I can live in a society that doesn't accept me, that they trust me to be free to make the right decisions for my family, that they think they know what's best for me. Makes me feel very uncomfortable.
Got you. Let's go to the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Just a decade ago or two, India was often seen as a country with immense potential.
Yeah.
But one that still had a long way to go, right? But now fast forward today, they're booming.
Yep.
Technology, people are amazing, people are getting better. What do you feel about India? Like they're gonna beat eventually China. That's 100% sure in the next years. But they already have the biggest population these days. As an entrepreneur, like would you put your cars there as well for your business?
I mean, I think the only problem India has is infrastructure. If you look at airports, they don't have enough airports. That's the part where they lose. They don't have enough ports. It's purely an infrastructure problem that they're 20 years behind China. So if you go look at railway, airports, ports, they're way behind. Internet, way behind. Their internet sucks. They're way behind in that area. Yeah, of course. I've been to, I spoke to IIT Institute, Mumbai. I love the people there. I had a great time when I went over there. I was with the former chairwoman of State Bank of India. I think her name is Arundhati Bhattacharya. I was there with billionaire Divyank Turakia. I was there with, anyways, a bunch of them. I had a very good time. But it's purely an infrastructure thing. Now, when I went to IIT Institute, which is a direct competitor of MIT, and I'm looking at these 5,000 students sitting there, the fire in these kids was unbelievable. They're just hungry to do what they want to do. And when we hire engineers nowadays, most engineers you hire, they're Indians. One of the biggest insurance companies. I went to their floor of engineers, 100% they discriminate because everybody was Indian. And I told her, I said, this is discrimination right here. You're having a single Middle Eastern. Well, Indians are the best engineers. I'm not going to tell you what insurance company it is, but you know who it is. Why? They're producing some of the best engineers. You know how many engineers work for me that are Indian? A lot of them. Machine learning, a lot of them. So they're producing that. That's the reputation they're building. India only has to focus on their infrastructure. And the sooner they invest in their infrastructure, they'll be able to compete with, but even look at what happened with Apple. Tim Cook decided to move a lot of his phones being made from China to India. There's a little bit of problem. How they can't turn it around like China did. China has it, India doesn't fully have it yet. They got some work to do.
Got you. Years from now, when people think back on your life, what do you want to leave this world?
Yeah, so you have to know nothing people say will come as close to what 4 people will say about me. Nothing. Because my dad won't be around. What I needed to hear from my dad, I already heard. My dad's going to be in heaven. He'll be watching now. He's still 82. He lives with us. He's 0.2 miles away from here. And happy, healthy right now. He's good. But my wife knows who I am. She's known me for a long time, since June of 2002. We started dating December 29th of 2007. So for 5.5 years, I was in different relationships. She was in a different relationship. And what she's going to say about me, she's already said. She knows who I am. It's those 4 kids, the 12-year-old, the 10-year-old, the Patrick Senior, the Junior, the Dylan James Bet David, the Senna, Brooklyn, Senna, the Brooklyn, my kids. What they do, what my grandkids, God willing, will one day say. That's what's going to matter. Everybody else, I think the world right now is in need of common sense, of people who have a high level of ability to reason, and they're willing to sit down with people they disagree with. They have the courage to risk being wrong at times when they're having debates with others. But they love people, like genuinely love people. Kind of need to go back to that a little bit, and you need some tough leaders that are able to face some bullies that are out there. God willing, they'll be able to say, here lies a leader amongst leaders. That's literally it for me when it comes down to what others say. What the 4 say is what matters the most to me.
I'm curious, Patrick, because with the success you have, you don't have to get into politics, right? But now that you're in politics, obviously you create enemies. You create also a lot of friends.
I have a lot of them right now, especially the last 2 weeks.
Really?
Oh yeah. Are you kidding me? I got a lot of enemies. I've never gotten this many death threats last week.
That's
I've
crazy.
never had that. Yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Because I.
What do you do? Why do you need to do that?
Why do I need to do that?
Yes.
I have a hard time with God accepting. So let me get this straight. So I pray on my knees, and I beg God to give me a chance at life when I have nothing. Then you give it to me. Then you give me a good life. I have my wife. I have my kids. My dad is with me. You give me an additional 30 years with my dad. He's 82 right now living. He should have died 30 years ago. My kids meet him. I have all these businesses. I've traveled the world. I've had some conversations with some of the most interesting people in the world. And now that you've given me all this stuff, now you want me to be a coward? Nah, that's a disrespect to the man upstairs. No, I'm going to tell you how I feel. If you ask me about my views about Muslims, Jews, Christians, Democrats, Republicans, politics, what's going on, I'm going to give you my thoughts, but I'm going to do my best to give it to you respectfully. That does not mean you're going to have to like what I have to say. That also doesn't mean I'm 100% right all the time. I'm telling you how I feel. Okay, and for me, like right now, the business I run, it's 100% my money. I'm not raising money from anybody right now. It's all our money. This isn't like somebody owns 51% of our company where I'm running it because what my board tells me to do. Even when I ran my insurance company, I always owned roughly 80% of the company. I never had it at a point where the board told me what to do. I'll never forget one time it was COVID. We had a bunch of guys that got vaccinated. My board sat me down and told me I have to send nurses to everyone's office because everyone's got to get vaccinated. It was the toughest 3-hour conversation I had with my board, but respectfully. And they're going back and forth. The entire board meeting was nothing to do with our numbers, nothing to do with our growth, nothing to do with how many insurance policies or annuities we sold, nothing to do with the premium, nothing to do with persistency placement. For 3 hours, it was about me getting my guys to get vaccinated. 80% of the room is against me. I told them, I said, I'm sorry, guys, what are we doing? It's not going to happen. I started this company with a mission statement, saving America by bringing back the free enterprise system and hope to American families, period. And I said this while I was dressed as George Washington on July 16th, 2009 at JW Marriott, Palm Springs. My wife was dressed as Lady Liberty. Another guy was dressed as Abraham Lincoln, had a 40-foot Mount Rushmore on the stage, 40 American flags. I had Ronald Reagan's son come and speak. I had Pastor Dudley Rutherford come and speak about the Star-Spangled Banner. I had Larry Greenfield come and talk about the Ronald Reagan Library and capitalism. You want me to tell these guys that they have to do something now? It's not America. It's a choice. My dad got the vaccine. He chose to get it. We didn't tell him to get it. My nanny, who's the grandma of our kids pretty much, who's lived with us for the last 15 years, she chose to get the vaccine. I chose not to get it. My wife chose not to get it. None of our kids got it. It's a choice. What do you want to do? You got it, good for you. You didn't, good for me. It's a choice. But I'm not in the business of forcing. You know how tough that meeting was? I'm not in the business of, if people, you can walk away and fully disagree with my position. But if you're a man who has the ability to reason and set aside your pride and ego, you'll walk away with respect. I'd like to be able to have conversations with you, and I ask you questions and you challenge me, and I'm wrong here, you're wrong here, or I'm right here, you're right here. But the basis of it is respect. If we can do that, we're good. But yeah, for me, I am not planning on being anybody else but me for the rest of my life.
Thank you for sharing this. And I want to talk about the man above, right, the God, right? Millions of people, many of youngsters like me, especially in my case, I'm looking for God, right? What age did you find God? Like, sometimes it takes years, sometimes it comes sooner. On my case, like, because I had a rough path, I was asking for God. I didn't have the lights. I didn't have the response. So it was a little bit difficult for me. Even today, I'm looking for. But someone like you who's always talking about God, I'm like, you know what? I want to ask you the question. When did you find God?
Yeah, so for me, dating a girl I love. We're together for 3 years. It's time to talk marriage. I already have the ring picked out. The ring's in the house. And I want to marry this girl. And I said, look, before we get married, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God, but I think we need to follow a manual if we're going to build a life together. So she's like, what are you talking about? I said, I think we need to go find a church or religion or something. That's literally how I'm talking to her. So we first go to this one guy named Edward, nice guy, African-American guy who comes in, and he was part of this church called the Los Angeles Church of Christ. And he says to me, so you want to find God? Yes. When's the last time you had sex? I said, an hour before meeting you. He says, are you married? I said, no. He says, well, if you want to meet God, you got to stop having sex with your girl. I said, great. Are we done? So what do you mean? I said, I'm not going to do that. Is that your approach? That's what you're telling me? I'm out of here. Well, no. I mean, there's no. I said, well, because if that's what you're going to do, man, it's just not going to work with me, okay? Because I don't even know if I believe yet. You want me to make those kinds of decisions before me even doing anything? I'm not with it. So I'm out. No, let's talk. And we started talking. Nicest guy in the world, by the way. Sweetheart of a guy. So then I go to this church, and then at the end, the pastor comes out of this church and says, I'm a false prophet. We're a cult. Oh, you got to be kidding me. This was in Hollywood. I'm like, here we go. What a way to get started. Then I'm around all these other guys who are Scientologists and Mormons and Seventh-day Adventists and Muslims and Jews and Christians and all these. I'm like, look, I'm going to go on that. So for about a year, when I get obsessed with books, I get obsessed with books. For about a year and a half, all I read is books on religion. That's all I read. And I would just devour them. What about this? And I'd go and debate. And what about this? Oh, I don't have an argument for that. Good point. What about this? And what about that? And what about this? And what about that? Eventually, one day, I realized If I read every single book in the world on religion, all of them, Book of Quran, the Bible, Buddhism, Book of Moroni, Mormonism, everything I read, at the end of the day, it's going to require me to have faith, to believe in something I'm not going to see while I'm alive. Okay? That debate for me is a done debate. I don't have the debate with religion because it's the dead end of the debate on religion is what? Faith. Then I sit there and ask my math side, which religion has produced the best society to raise a family in? Then you kind of go through and look at that. Okay, what does this one look like? What does that one look like? What does this one look like? What does that one look like? And then you're like, wow, never thought about it this way. Why is it the greatest country in the world? It was based on Judeo-Christian values and principles where pretty much our Constitution is based on. Is that because, and why is it that I'm Assyrian when Assyrians wanted to climb up and they built a tower so big to climb and beat God, and they would kill lions because they wanted to be the king of the jungle? God took everything away from them. We were the most powerful empire in the world. We had the most incredible inventions. Half the inventions people are taking advantage of in the world today, a lot of them were by Syrians. Wow. So even though we were on track, the moment we got away from God, we lost everything. Where's the Syrian country today? It was in Iraq. Oh, got it. But America, as long as they put God first, we kept winning? Yeah. Okay. How about any other country? Go to Persia, constant chaos. It fell. How about this? Constant chaos. How about that? Constant chaos. How about this? Constant chaos. All right. Maybe the religion that helped America build a peaceful society for the most part. That doesn't mean there's going to be people that are going to be having vengeance and doing dumb things. No matter what, in every religion, you're going to have that. But for the most part, Christians have done a lot of good for the world. And then I look at families and seeing what they're producing, because I've been around Muslims. I lived in Iran for 11 years. I'm around Mormons. I'm around Jews. I'm around everybody. And I get along with everybody. I literally get along with everybody. Everybody I get along with, whatever your background is. So, okay. Yeah. January 21st of 2004, I went to church, gave my life to Christ. I'd shepherded the hills. I went to that church for a year and a half. Before I did that, pastor's name was Dudley Rutherford. For a year and a half, I was also going to Bible study at Pasadena with this man named Mano every other Friday night from 6 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning. And then I went 17 months without sex. And I made the choice. I said, my biggest addiction is women. That's what controls me. All I ever thought was women. A girl today sends me a Manek saying, Patrick, you keep talking about Dublin's. She says, you know, I used to work at Dublin's from 2003 to 2005. I said, I probably saw you at Dublin's because I was at Dublin's every single week acting like a fool when I would go to Dublin. So I went 17 months. Done. So my number one addiction no longer had control over me. Then I realized I can't be controlled as long as I put God first. That's where my power came from, period. Once that happened, my biggest thing was, I just want to stay aligned to you. Okay, I want to stay aligned to you as much as possible. And that's not easy to do because as you get more money, more wealth, the women get more beautiful and they get more famous and they get better at flirting with you. And enemies want to see you fall. So I'm not sitting here telling you I walk on water and I'm going to make the best decisions for the rest of my life. I'm a human being. I'm a regular person like anybody else. I have the same weaknesses as any other man does. I'm not one that's above any of the other guys. And I speak about this very openly with my own wife. So it's not like it's let me tell you, I'm this saint. Nope, there is no St. Patrick here. This is a flawed Patrick who, sins like everybody else does, but is trying to do his best to be a leader amongst leaders. So my process of getting to the decision, and I've never told it the way I just told you right now, that's how I got to that decision.
I appreciate it. Well, it's going to help me a lot, that's for sure. Rapid fire question. We're almost at the end. Patrick, you met a lot of legends. Tom Brady, Mike Tyson, Stephen A. Smith. Before the interview, you had a perception of them. After, I'm pretty sure you had another perception of them. What's your perception on Kobe Bryant?
My kind of a guy, man. Kobe's my kind of a guy. Kobe and I are 6 weeks apart. He's born August 23rd, 78. I'm born October 18th, 78. He's 6 weeks older than me. Kobe, right before the interview started, and we're in the conference room. It's me, my wife, and my 2 kids. 3 kids, Senna's there as well. He spends 50 minutes talking to my wife. He spends 10 minutes, 15 minutes talking to Dylan. They have a great conversation together, to my nephew, Sean. And then this 75-year-old, 7-year-old white lady comes in. I don't know who she was. But the way he hugged her and she hugged him, it was like she was his grandma. He was so gentle with her, so kind. Beautiful, very well put together lady. Nice dress. So you saw the other side of him. And then he asked me a question. He says, do you get nervous before you do these types of interviews? Because there was 6,000 people at this event. It was the same event I had President Bush, Jordan Peterson, Billy Beane, and Kobe. He says, do you get nervous? I said, no, I've done a lot of these. He says, me neither. I said, Kobe, we know you don't get nervous. He says, no, this is different though. I'm being interviewed. It's different versus me playing basketball. I don't do a lot of interviews. I play basketball in front of tens of thousands of people and I don't get nervous. I said, so you're not nervous? He says, no, I'm good. So we came and we did the interview and they're screaming, Kobe, Kobe. We had to cut 2 minutes of it because 1,000 people rushed to the stage. And there was a moment where it was very uncomfortable and unsafe because people are falling and all this other stuff. We have to cut this. And I said, guys, let me tell you, if you don't get back to your seats, I'm canceling this interview right now and I'm taking Kobe out. What do you guys want to do? You have 30 seconds to get back to your seats and be respectful. 30 seconds later, in a room of 6,000 people, they all ran back. They grabbed seats. I said, are we good? Yes. Let's go ahead and get started. Boom, my first question. We start the interview. After the interview, he says, it's actually very impressive seeing how that whole thing was handled on the safety component of it. I said, well, you know, it is what it is. Guests got to feel safe. We can't have an environment like this. But no, afterwards we were talking and we were going to probably do other things together. Yeah, it's just my story with Kobe. When I think Kobe, I think my dad. I mean, one day I'm in Dallas. I'm teaching a class called, PHP University. And I'm in downtown Dallas. It's his last game. They're playing against Utah. Hayward is guarding him. I get in the car. I drive back. We get to Plano. Because it's a West Coast game, ends at 10 o'clock, 9:30 East, Texas time. I can watch it at midnight. So my training ended at 11:30. So I caught the last part, and I saw him the last 5 minutes. Look at this here. I saw him the last 5 minutes when he scored 60 points. Me and my sister. I'm watching this guy score 60, and I'm in tears because every time I think about Kobe, I think about my dad. My relationship with Kobe and my dad, because we watched him play. My time with my dad when we would bond is we would sit there and watch Kobe play.
What do you think Kobe would do if he was still alive today?
Kobe would have done his creative side to contribute making movies. I don't know if Kobe was, at a level where he wanted to be the richest this and da-da-da-da-da. I think LeBron's going to advance more in life with wealth than Kobe. I don't think for Kobe it was about wealth and being famous and all that. Although Kobe was like the most famous athlete in the world at one point. Kobe had a very creative, gentle, inner peace side to him that I think was very important for him to go through the phase with his daughters, with his wife. And he would have made movies, he would have done all the creative side. But I think Kobe would have gone a very different route. He would have been able to give an argument to people from both sides politically and gotten both sides to say he has a point. LeBron will pander to just one side. Michael won't even have that conversation because Michael's Michael. But I think Kobe could have been a guy that he could have brought people here, which is kind of where we need to be. LeBron will get people here. Michael's not even here. Kobe would have brought a lot of people here to the center.
Broke my heart. I was talking to you about it at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Broke my heart when Kobe died because I couldn't believe my eyes. I remember like it was yesterday. It was at the Apple store. I cried that day. It was a memorable moment.
Certain events in your life, you remember exactly where you were at. I was at Seasons 52 in Plano when the report came in, CNN. Kobe Bryant, helicopter crash, he died, and I'm sitting with my wife and my kids, and Dylan reads my phone. He's like, wait, what is that, Dad? I'm like, nah, it's got to be fake. And then all of a sudden my phone, because I interviewed Kobe, and my phone, 100 text messages, back to back to back. Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? Did you hear? I'm like, what? And I'm like, so yeah, I mean, look, you remember it, but you know what is a beautiful thing? Let me tell you what's a beautiful thing. There's never been a history in the history of sports where when an athlete gets killed like that, the entire world stopped for Kobe. Think about the impact this basketball player made, that he got the entire world to stop. The world stopped. No one's ever done that before. Roberto Clemente, you can say a lot of different athletes. Roberto Clemente was a legendary, baseball player. We stopped for Kobe. That's the kind of respect that,
Got two last questions, Pat.
Go for it.
How close are you to get Michael Jordan? I know it's one of your dreams to have Michael Jordan in your podcast.
I think with Michael, I just know I'm going to interview him right. I have so many questions here for him. I just know I'm going to interview Michael right. But it has to be, a Michael, you got to realize, take every athlete in the world. Any one of them, Ronaldo, Messi, Tom Brady, Kobe Bryant, Gretzky, Michael Phelps. Go to anybody. No one has Michael's aura. No one. When I tell you no one, I mean no one. Everybody wants to have what Michael has and had. There's only one of them. Michael's a very unique. So for a guy like Michael, we have to almost have multiple meetings off camera, phone set aside, for him to feel comfortable, to then 3, 6, 12 months later say, hey, let's do it. I think that's going to take a minute. Or somebody who was in the circle of Michael, close to him. Like today I spoke to Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis and I had a very good conversation today, football player. And he's on vacation and we're having a conversation together. He reached out, and Ray Lewis, being the legend that he is, Baltimore Ravens, our guys, a couple guys put us in contact with each other, and boom. But someone who's close to Ray Lewis is saying, you got to get on the PBD podcast. So there's those interviews that we reach out, and there's those people in communities that say, you got to get on that podcast. Someone in Michael's community who is very close, who Michael trusts, is going to tell Michael, just do this one. Trust me, you're going to want to do this one. That's how it'll probably happen.
My girlfriend she's Venezuelan, so this question means a lot to me. So this is the last one, Pat. Thank you for your time. So, this country been through a lot, and for the past 20 years now. Mm-hmm. But now Maduro, once again, he got selected. What does it take for this country to change, to have a better lifestyle, better politics? You have a lot of knowledge in politics, so.
Yeah. Well, think about Cuba. How long has it been destroyed? Long time. And when communism gets a hold of you, it is very hard to get away from it. It takes decades to get away from it. Look what happened in Brazil. They brought Lula, Operation Car Wash, and then they get away from him. They bring Bolsonaro. Then this guy, Alexandre de something, I don't know his last name, Alexandre de Moraes, who is, if you just put his picture up in this interview, let people see his face. Tell me what this face looks like. For the average person watching this, what does he look like? Okay. This guy goes and somehow, someway gets Lula to be freed from jail after he stole a few $100 million of people's money and got caught, Operation Car Wash, look it up. And then he comes out and ends up beating Bolsonaro and Bolsonaro loses being a president, and Brazil's not going back to the same socialistic, communistic type of place that it was before, the people eventually have to get sick of it. But most of the time when a country goes to that kind of a level of communism and that kind of a leader like, Maduro, who can't stand Elon Musk. He wanted to have a fist fight with Elon Musk. He told his people to not allow Twitter. He suspended Twitter from being in Brazil for a couple weeks. Who the hell does that, right? Not a lot of people, but they're doing it to him because he fears freedom of speech. I had Bolsonaro's son on the podcast with 3 other guys that are very, very well-known Brazilians. And the 3 people that were Brazilian that were going back to Brazil, they couldn't say what they really wanted to say because they knew if they go back to Brazil, they may get arrested. I mean, that's a very nasty place to live. So it's going to take a miracle. It's going to take a massive crisis. And it's going to take people to want to come together and know you can never flirt with a candidate getting up there saying they're going to give you free money. Never fall for the trap of free. Do you know when I was in India, what the last thing I said to Indians when I left? You have to hear this speech. Just go watch the last 5 minutes. The last 5 minutes of my speech in India, when I'm in Mumbai at IIT, I said, Indians, you're about to make a lot of money and a lot of wealth. But then there's going to be a politician that's going to show up that's going to tell you, we are now so rich. We can afford to give you free this and free that and free this and free that because we made so much money in India. And they're going to try to raise a tax because they're trying to tell you the government can do better with money than the capitalists and the business owners. Don't fall for this trap. You're going to, but just don't fall for it. You will be tempted. Don't fall for it. Unfortunately, the reason why places like that are the way they are is because people fall for the trap of free programs. And then when they do, a Venezuela goes from, number 1 in the world in oil to all of a sudden, it's a shit show. And everyone's escaping, going to Colombia, going to other places. It's disturbing, but they need a massive crisis to happen there. But when they do get their second chance or third chance or fifth chance, which they will, don't fall for the free word. It's the biggest curse word in the dictionary. Everybody talks about the F word. Don't drop an F-bomb. The biggest F-bomb is free. There's no bigger F-bomb than the word free. Catastrophic for a great nation.
Patrick, it means a lot to me. You're like a father figure for a lot of young entrepreneurs with all the advice you're giving on social media. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me, man.
Anytime.
Appreciate it.
My man.
Thank
Great
you.
to be on. Yes.